At 78, Rob Reiner finally tells the truth about Carroll O'Connor. Rob Reiner was born Robert Reiner on March 6, 1947 in the Bronx, New York. He grew up in a home where telling stories, acting, and being creative were part of everyday life. His dad, Carroll Reiner, was already a huge star in comedy, writing and acting on famous shows like Your Show of Shows and later creating The Dick Van Dyke Show. Growing up around that gave young Rob a front-row seat to learning about comedy, timing, and storytelling. It also taught him a lot about show business, though he would eventually create his own special style as a movie maker and actor that was different from his father's work. Reiner first became famous as an actor in the early 1970s when he played the role of Michael "Meathead" Stivic in the groundbreaking TV sitcom All in the Family. His character was the liberal son-in-law who constantly argued with Archie Bunker, played by Carroll O'Connor. The show became one of the most important and talked-about programs of its time, using comedy to deal with serious topics like race, politics, gender roles, and arguments between different generations. Reiner's performance made him widely known and respected. It wasn't just a career-defining role, but also a launching pad that gave him the confidence and fame to move into other creative work. While many actors might have stayed stuck after such a famous television role, Reiner instead remade himself as a director with amazing range. His first directing job came with the 1984 cult classic This Is Spinal Tap, a fake documentary that has since become one of the most loved comedies of all time. What made it special was its super sharp making fun of rock culture and its serious delivery, which tricked some people into thinking it was a real documentary. The film showed Reiner's ability to capture humor in ways that were both silly and true, a skill that became a signature of his career. After that, Reiner directed a bunch of critically praised and money-making films throughout the 1980s and 1990s. These included Stand By Me, 1986, an adaptation of a Stephen King story that gently explored themes of friendship, death, and the journey from childhood to adulthood. It remains one of the most touching coming-of-age films ever made. He then directed The Princess Bride, 1987, a film that mixed together fantasy, romance, comedy, and adventure in ways that broke the usual rules. Though it didn't make much money at first, it became a cult classic and is now considered one of the most universally loved films in movie history. Reiner's ability to do different things showed again with When Harry Met Sally, 1989. A romantic comedy that changed the genre with its clever dialogue, real exploration of relationships, and unforgettable moments like the famous diner scene. The film was a cultural landmark and helped make his reputation as a filmmaker who could blend humor with deep human truth. He followed this with the intense military courtroom drama A Few Good Men, 1992, which showed his ability to handle high-stakes drama with the same skill he had brought to comedy and romance. The film had some of the most famous lines in cinema, including Jack Nicholson's "You Can't Handle the Truth," which has become part of American pop culture vocabulary. Audiences first noticed his versatility when he appeared in the pitch-dark comedy Throw Mama from the Train, 1987, a film that paired him with Billy Crystal and Danny DeVito and gave Reiner the chance to show his sharp comic timing. He continued to remind viewers of his acting range in Nora Ephron's beloved romantic classic Sleepless in Seattle, 1993, playing a role that added humor and heart to the story of love and second chances. Woody Allen then used Reiner's skill for unusual comedy by casting him in Bullets Over Broadway, 1994, where he proved he could do great in witty, fast-paced dialogue. From there, Reiner showed up in a bunch of films during the 1990s that made his status as a reliable and likable supporting player stronger, including The First Wives Club, 1996, the political drama Primary Colors, 1998, and Ron Howard's funny look at reality television, EDTV, 1999. Each performance, while different in style, showed Reiner's ability to fit into whatever story he was part of. Reiner also often appeared in his own films, usually giving himself roles that let him make fun of Hollywood while helping tell the story. His most famous self-casting remains his turn as fake documentarian Marty DeBurgi in This Is Spinal Tap, 1984, the cult rock mockumentary he directed that became a foundation of comedy film. He later gave himself parts in The Story of Us, 1999, and Alex and Emma, 2003, where he balanced humor and emotion, as well as a more serious supporting role in Shock and Awe, 2017. His journalism drama about reporters investigating the Bush administration's case for the Iraq War. These performances showed his ability to switch from satire to sincerity without ever feeling out of place. Beyond scripted roles, Reiner has often been willing to make fun of his public image. He made playful cameos in comedies like Dickie Roberts, Former Child Star, 2003, where his willingness to parody himself showed his self-awareness, and in 30 Rock, 2010, where his appearance was a clever wink to fans who knew him as both an insider and someone who made fun of Hollywood. He later charmed a new generation of viewers with recurring appearances on the hit series New Girl, 2012 to 2018, where his character added depth and warmth to the quirky group of characters. And in 2013, he surprised audiences with a role in Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street, holding his own alongside Leonardo DiCaprio in a film filled with energy, chaos, and sharp performances. Even in recent years, Reiner has continued to remind audiences of his lasting importance. In December 2023, he opened the primetime CBS special Dick Van Dyke, 98 Years of Magic, with a heartfelt tribute and on-camera conversation with Dick Van Dyke himself, connecting different generations of entertainment history. For viewers, the moment was a reminder that Reiner is not just a participant in Hollywood's story. He is a living connection between the golden age of television, the groundbreaking films of the late 20th century, and the changing landscape of today's entertainment. Rob Reiner's personal life has been marked by two important marriages that shaped not only his family but also the course of his creative journey. In 1971, at the height of his growing fame as an actor and before his career as a director had taken off, Reiner married actress and director Penny Marshall. Marshall was already a well-known figure in the entertainment industry, known for her comedic charm and her rising career that would later blossom with her work on the beloved sitcom Laverne and Shirley and her future success as a groundbreaking female director in Hollywood. Their marriage put two highly creative people under the same roof, both deeply involved in the entertainment world. During their marriage, Reiner legally adopted Marshall's daughter, Tracy Reiner, who was born in 1964 from Marshall's earlier marriage to Michael Henry. Tracy would go on to carve out her own career as an actress, appearing in a number of well-known films, including A League of Their Own, Apollo 13, and Die Hard. Though Rob Reiner and Penny Marshall eventually divorced in 1981 after a decade together, their union had lasting importance not only in shaping Tracy's life but also in creating bonds within Hollywood's interconnected creative community. Even after their split, both remained influential figures in the film and television world, and their time together continues to be remembered as an era when two trailblazing artists shared both personal and professional lives. Several years after his divorce, Rob Reiner's personal life took another important turn during the production of one of his most famous films. While directing the 1989 romantic comedy When Harry Met Sally, Reiner met photographer Michelle Singer. Their meeting was lucky and meant to be, not only changing the direction of Reiner's personal life but even influencing the film itself. According to Reiner, his relationship with Singer inspired him to change the original ending of the movie. At first, he had planned for the two main characters played by Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan to go their separate ways without a romantic ending. However, after falling in love with Singer, Reiner thought again, deciding instead to give audiences the now famous happy ending that helped make When Harry Met Sally one of the most celebrated romantic comedies of all time. Beyond its movie impact, their connection grew into a lifelong partnership, and Reiner married Michelle Singer later that same year in 1989. Together they built a family, welcoming 3 children into their lives. Jake, born in 1991, who would later follow in his father's footsteps with a career in acting. Nick, born in 1993, who pursued a path as a writer and has spoken openly about personal struggles, even inspiring Reiner's 2015 film Being Charlie, and Romy, born in 1997, the youngest of the Reiner children. Their family life has been one of stability and love, with Reiner often giving Michelle credit for bringing joy, balance, and renewed purpose into his life. In many ways, his marriage to Michelle Singer not only influenced one of his most famous films but also gave him the grounding and inspiration to continue his long, many-sided career in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, now a celebrated director, actor, and activist, has lived a life filled with remarkable experiences in Hollywood. But one of the most important and meaningful periods of his career came when he worked alongside Carroll O'Connor, the legendary actor who played Archie Bunker on All in the Family. For years, fans wondered what the relationship was like between Reiner, who played the liberal son-in-law Michael "Meathead" Stivic, and O'Connor, who brought to life the bigoted but strangely lovable grandfather figure Archie Bunker. Now, at the age of 78, Reiner has spoken openly about their relationship, putting to rest both rumors and wrong ideas. Reiner remembered those early days of All in the Family with a mixture of wonder and deep respect. Carroll O'Connor was one of the most brilliant actors I have ever had the privilege of working with, Reiner said. What people don't always realize is how much of that role came from his incredible intelligence and thoughtfulness. Archie Bunker could have easily been a cartoon, just a one-note character. But Carroll gave him humanity. He gave him depth. He made Archie someone you hated, but also someone you weirdly understood. That was Carroll's genius. For many years, there were stories going around that Reiner and O'Connor didn't get along because of the political and generational divide their characters represented. Some fans thought that the fiery arguments on screen mirrored real-life tension off-screen. Reiner cleared this up. "We didn't fight off-camera. We didn't hate each other. Quite the opposite. We had enormous affection for each other. Carroll was like a mentor to me. I learned so much from just watching him work, how he could control a scene with just a look or a pause. I was in awe of him." Still, Reiner admitted that the pressure of acting opposite someone as powerful as O'Connor was scary. "Every time I went into a scene with Carroll, I had to be at the top of my game. He pushed me to be better without ever saying a word about it. He just set such a high bar as an actor that you had to rise to meet it." The show itself dealt with controversial topics: racism, sexism, war, politics, and often sparked heated debates across America. Reiner gave O'Connor credit for being fearless in taking on such a role. Carroll knew exactly what he was doing. He knew Archie was going to push people's buttons, and he embraced that. He once told me, "If people aren't uncomfortable, then we're not doing our job." That stuck with me my whole career. That idea that art should challenge, not just comfort, has guided me as a filmmaker. Reiner also spoke about the personal side of O'Connor, describing him as deeply thoughtful, warm, and even shy. Off the set, Carroll was very different from Archie. He was gentle, he was kind, and he was always reading. He was an intellectual. People who only knew Archie Bunker would be shocked to see the real Carroll. He hated bigotry. He hated the very things Archie stood for. But he played them with such honesty that people sometimes got confused. But Carroll never confused himself. He knew exactly where he stood. As time went on, Reiner and O'Connor stayed friends, and Reiner admitted that O'Connor's influence on his life went well beyond the years of All in the Family. "He showed me that you could use humor to open people's minds. He showed me that an actor's job is to make people feel, even if it makes them uncomfortable. I carried that with me into directing films like Stand By Me and A Few Good Men." That's Carroll's influence right there. When asked if there was one thing he wanted the world to know about O'Connor, Reiner became thoughtful. "The truth is, Carroll O'Connor was one of the kindest men I ever met in this business. People saw Archie and thought maybe Carroll had a little of that in him, but he didn't. He was generous, he was supportive, and he cared deeply about people. I think the world misunderstood him sometimes because the character was so strong, but Carroll himself was nothing like Archie. And I feel lucky, really lucky, that I got to know him." At 78, Rob Reiner's words carry the weight of a long and distinguished career, and his tribute to Carroll O'Connor not only clears away old wrong ideas but also shines a light on the legacy of an actor whose work continues to mean something decades later. "I loved him," Reiner said simply. "He wasn't just my co-star, he was my teacher, my friend, and one of the greats."